Bearing failure is unfortunately a reality and a fact of life. It can happen at any given time, but we're not going to delve into the nitty-gritties today. Just have a look at how to change it.
Firstly, we're going to create a safe environment, a safe working area, by leaving the trailer connected to the vehicle with the vehicle's handbrake on and in gear. We are ensured the trailer won't move forward and backwards. Secondly, we'll make sure that kids, children, everybody is away from the working area, especially where I'm going to remove the wheel. The third and most important part is to create a clean working environment. A bearing's worst enemy is sand and dust. So get all your tools together, pack all your tools out so you don't have to walk around the vehicle with greasy hands. And make sure that you use a tarpaulin where you can pack all your tools on and nothing is going to lie in the sand and the dust. One should always have a tarpaulin of sorts in your vehicle when it comes to working on the trailer or even recovering there. Before we jack the wheel up, we're going to loosen all the nuts. Half a turn to a turn, working across from each other. Just want to ensure that the wheel is not spinning once the wheel is in the air. I'll jack the trailer up or the caravan up until the wheel starts lifting. Before I carry on, I'll inspect the jack. And it's firmly in place, straight and not sinking into the ground. This is nice hard surface, so we haven't got a problem in this case. So if it's soft surface, find a jack plate or anything that you've got in your car or trailer to prevent the jack from sinking into the ground. I'm going to remove the spare wheel. And I'm going to place the spare wheel underneath the caravan, and that's my security. To prevent the caravan from falling on me. We're going to place the wheel nuts in a clean, dry environment where we know that there won't be any dust involved. Okay, I'm going to take my cloth and I'm going to clean the excess grease off so that I can see the castle nut as well as the split pin. I'll then remove the split pin with the sharp nose pliers. I'm going to straighten the split pin's arms, trying not to break it. Although I do have a spare in my bearing kit, I'll show you this just now. We discussed it in the previous program as well. We want to try to save it for the in case. I remove the split pin, and now I've got my little cap here that I use to put all my little spares in that I can rinse with a little bit of petrol or diesel. I don't carry a massive range of spanners with me, but the one thing that's handy to do most of the bigger work on this caravan is a nice big shifting spanner that can go up to 32 millimeters. And with this spanner, I can reach most sizes of bolts on the caravan. Okay, just a nice quick turn and it should come off easily. I'll take my rag and remove the grease, and that's the castle nut off. Remember, my vehicle's brakes on, my vehicle's in gear. And we're going to remove the drum, keeping in mind that your outer bearing is now going to fall off. I'll hold my hand there, and the brake drum comes off. There's a lot of sand and dust in the brake drum. I'm immediately trying to get rid of it so it doesn't end up on my working surface. There you go. I'm going to make use of my tyre that I took off to do most of my work on the drum. To remove the inner seal, I'm going to give it a light tap from the inside. Again, we're working over a cross and light taps. So your inner seal and bearing is out. You'll see there it is. And that's the damaged bearing. We're not going to worry about keeping that clean. Just chuck it aside so we can clean it up just now and put it into the vehicle. Now I'm going to take a cloth and start cleaning up inside so that we can actually see what's going on here and inspect for damage, as well as remove the outer bearing casing and the inner bearing casing. I just must clean it a bit more, because this is an important part that people don't damage their hub. Then I'm going to remove my inner bearing casing. You'll see that's the bearing casing there. I'm going to hit the bearing casing with this pin punch, again in a cross format, but not damaging my hub. And you make sure you only hit the bearing casing. To show you the inner bearing casing, there it is again. I'm not too worried about keeping it clean, because the bearing is damaged and we are definitely going to replace the bearing with a new bearing. We're going to do the same with the outer bearing casing by turning the hub upside down. The most important part of the next step, to clean the hub as well as the axle very, very thoroughly to ensure there's no sand in the hub. Okay, you'll see that I've taken a new cloth, a clean cloth, and this is the most important part, cleaning the wheel hub as well as the axle very, very thoroughly. And if you got some fluids in your jerry cans, maybe a bit of petrol, even a little bit of diesel, that would help with your cleaning process. Next thing, I'll inspect the hub. Although in the middle of the field you can't do much about existing damage, but I'll at least inspect it so that I know when I come back what's going on inside there. I will clean the stub axle. Very careful not to spread the existing dust too much. In fact, let me take my dirty cloth first. Take all this grind off. I've taken some diesel out of my jerry cans. I've got my clean cloth. I'm just finishing off with my clean cloth, making sure there's no sand, especially sand and grind in, as well as my axle. Notice that I didn't clean too much around there. Firstly, I haven't got compressors. I haven't got the right equipment to clean the brake assembly. So it was working before the time, and I'm not going to mess around with this whole section here. Okay, firstly, I'm going to seed the inner bearing housing by pressing it in. My tools are nice and clean. I'm going to again work over cross. Okay, so I'll carry doing that. till I hear a metal on metal sound, a solid sound. I will inspect as well that it makes sure it's totally in. Yes, it's in. Turn the hub around. And notice everything is still in the containers. I'm trying to work as clean as possible. And I'll do the same working over across. And there's that solid sound, and that's properly in. Okay, so I'm going to get the grease from my bearing set. And I'm going to squeeze some grease into the palm of my hand. Like that. I'm going to take the bearing, big side showing downwards, and I'm going to start by squeezing in a circle the grease into the bearing. You can clearly see where it starts coming out. We're going to repeat this for a couple of times until the bearing is properly greased and the grease is coming through the back end. Grease all over. Nice pulled into the bearing. I'm going to take some of the grease and I'm going to grease the bearing housing lightly. I'm going to place the bearing inside the bearing housing. And then we're going to fit the seal. So we're going to put the seal on. I've got some grease left in my palm. We're going to finish greasing the bearing from the top. And fit the seal. Do a crossover, fitting the seal. Okay, it's nice and flush. That's good. Before we fit the next bearing, to fill up the cavity area in between the two bearings, that area so that it's level from one bearing housing up to the next bearing housing. We can put a generous amount in, but not too full, just level with. So I'm going to put some grease on my small bearing, the outer bearing casing. And gently slide it over so I don't get any dust falling down on my axle shaft. Place a small bearing I fitted my small bearing, and then in my little wheel cap I added some diesel just now. Washed my castle nut, put the castle nut on and tighten it up. So I'll tighten my castle nut until it's tight. Make sure the hub spins, and then I will loosen it lightly so that the castle nut lines up with that little hole. Put my split pin. Put the hub. Move it slightly. Remember, we're still on a jack. Just check for play on the hub. Done. Put the grease cap on. Lightly tap it into position. There's a little rim on the grease cap. Don't put the grease cap in too deep. There we go. All done. Okay. Put the wheel back, make sure all the nuts are fairly tight. That's it, done. Okay, and we will then secure our wheel nuts by working across from each other.